There are cars that win races, and then there are cars that force the rulebook to fight back. This is the story of 7 machines so advanced, so aggressive, and so far ahead of their competition that officials eventually had no choice but to ban them or reshape the entire category around them. Known simply as Godzilla, the Nissan Skyline GT-R 32 was the kind of car that made rivals stop thinking about lap times and start thinking about survival. Nissan brought back the GT-R name in 1989 with a 2.6-liter twin-turbocharged inline-6 engine producing an officially claimed 280 horsepower. But the real story was the technology surrounding that engine. The R32 featured an advanced all-wheel drive system that could automatically send power to the wheels with the most grip, along with 4-wheel steering that improved stability and cornering. Combined with a lightweight chassis and exceptional balance, it was a machine built to put every bit of power to the ground. This was not just a fast coupe. It was a racing system disguised as a road car. In competition, the R32 quickly became a problem too big to ignore. Its combination of turbocharged power, all-wheel drive traction, and sophisticated handling technology proved too much for rivals in Group A touring car racing. The car dominated championships in Japan and Australia, winning race after race with alarming consistency. Eventually, Australian motorsport authorities responded with regulation changes that effectively removed turbocharged 4-wheel drive cars from the category. That is how dominant the R32 was. It did not merely beat the competition, it helped force the competition to change the rules. In motorsport, that is usually the moment a legend is born and the rule makers start to panic. Mazda took a completely different road. While everyone else chased the familiar sound of pistons and valves, Mazda stayed loyal to the rotary engine, and the 787B became the purest expression of that obsession. Mazda's own Le Mans site says the 787B weighed just 830 kilograms and used a 4-rotor R26B engine with a maximum output of 690 horsepower. The engine was a 2.6-liter naturally aspirated rotary designed with peripheral port intake and exhaust, electronically controlled injection, 3-plug ignition, and ceramic apex seals. That made it smooth, lightweight, and fiercely competitive over a full race distance. Then came Le Mans 1991, and the whole world had to pay attention. The 787B became the first Japanese car to win the 24 Hours of Le Mans overall, and the first rotary-powered car ever to do it. But the next chapter of sports car racing was moving in a different direction. For 1992, the World Championship regulations shifted toward 3.5-liter Formula-style engines, and Mazda's rotary concept no longer fit the new technical world being built around it. The 787B had not just won. It had become too unusual for the future that came next. The Dodge Charger Daytona was America's answer to one simple problem. How do you beat everyone else when the race is decided by drag, airflow, and courage? Dodge answered with a giant nose cone, a towering rear wing, and a body shape that looked more like a missile than a muscle car. The road version could be ordered with the 426 Hemi V8, a 7.0-liter engine rated at 425 horsepower, or the 440 Magnum with 375 horsepower. Built for homologation, it existed to dominate NASCAR, and it did exactly that. The Daytona made history by becoming the first NASCAR car to break 322 kilometers per hour in competition. That kind of performance was thrilling for fans and terrifying for everyone writing the rulebook. By 1971, NASCAR moved to limit aerodynamically enhanced cars with engine restrictions that effectively ended the Aero War era, and the Daytona was regulated out of competition along with its winged cousins. In other words, the car did not lose because it was slow. It lost because it was too fast for the category to continue unchanged. If there is one theme that keeps coming back in this story, it is this. Some cars get banned for power, and some get banned for cleverness. The Chaparral 2E belonged to the second group. Introduced in 1966, it used a Chevrolet V8 and a high-mounted movable wing that the driver could control with a pedal. On the straight, the wing could sit flat and reduce drag. In the corners, it could tilt to create more downforce and grip. That was an enormous advantage because it let the car behave like two different machines on the same lap. The idea was brilliant, but it also scared the series to death. Chaparral had found a way to let the driver change aerodynamic load on demand, and once that happened, racing officials saw the future coming too early. The Can-Am series outlawed moving aerodynamic parts, because the 2E proved that if a team was allowed to actively shape downforce in real time, the rest of the field would spend years trying to catch up. The 2E was not just a race car. It was the moment motorsport realized that aerodynamics could be controlled, not just endured. Prior to the mid-1980s, rally racing was mostly a European battlefield. Then Toyota started pushing the Celica into the World Rally Championship, and the story changed fast. By the time the ST205 arrived, Toyota's road and rally weapon was using a 2.0-liter 3S GTE turbo engine, with Toyota's own vehicle lineage listing the 6th-generation GT-Four at 251 horsepower in representative form. It was a compact 4-cylinder, but in rally trim, it was built to attack every surface, every stage, and every second. Time passed, and rally cars kept getting faster, which raised safety concerns for drivers and fans. In 1995, the FIA required restrictor plates and turbochargers to limit airflow, cut power, and slow the cars down. Toyota's engineers found a way around that rule with a device that technically included the restrictor plate, but then moved it out of the way as speed built. It was a masterpiece of engineering and a disaster for the rulebook because it met the shape of the law while ignoring its purpose. Once the FIA discovered the trick, Toyota was banned from the championship. The Celica GT-Four had become too clever for its own good. Formula One has always rewarded innovation, but the Brabham BT46B pushed innovation into forbidden territory. Introduced at the 1978 Swedish Grand Prix, the BT46B used a huge rear fan to create downforce by sucking air from underneath the car. That fan was powered by the car itself, and it also helped cool the machine, which gave Brabham just enough legal cover to try the idea in competition. Driven by Niki Lauda, it won its only race with shocking ease. The deeper problem was that the car had turned ground effect into something almost mechanical and absolute. It was no longer just about shaping airflow. It was about actively pulling the car to the road surface. Formula One rules did not allow movable aerodynamic devices, and once rival teams understood what the BT46B was doing, the pressure became too strong to ignore. Brabham withdrew the car, and the fan car era ended almost as soon as it began. The BT46B was so effective that it became impossible to let it continue. The Chaparral 2J is one of the strangest race cars ever built, and that is exactly why it belongs on this list. The Petroleum Museum lists the 2J with a Chevrolet aluminum big block 7.6 liters V8 making 680 horsepower, but that was only half the story. The car also carried a second engine in the rear, which drove two 17-inch fans to suck air from beneath the car and force it out the back. The result was immense downforce, and crucially, that downforce did not depend on speed the way a normal wing did. That is why competitors were furious. The 2J could corner like it was glued to the ground, and in qualifying, it was reportedly far quicker than the next fastest car. Other teams argued that the fans were illegal, movable aerodynamic devices, and the SCCA eventually outlawed the car after the 1970 Can-Am season. The 2J was pure racing imagination taken to the edge of legality, then pushed right over it. It was not just unusual. It was so effective that the rest of the grid had no answer except a ban.